down of the economy. It looks like they have something already on ground, a plan to make sure that the NLC do not proceed on the strike they are planning to. And away from that, we'll also look at the president's UN address, which we took our time to address yesterday. Of course, we listened to the words of Mr. President, and today we'll also highlight the key issues, high points in which the president had mentioned during his address at the UN General Assembly. So joining us via audio call is Barrister Ekemini Udim. Welcome, Barrister.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, how are you doing? Hello,
I'm
sir.
good.
Okay, we're pleased to have you today. You were supposed to join us yesterday, but due to some issues, we couldn't connect to you. Okay, Barrister, let's head to the first issue. Just a little bit before we come to the strike action, there have been, some differences, would I say, fracas between the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, and of course his deputy Shuaibu, concerning, of course, who takes turn on that seat. Now, it looks like that is not allowing them to put their houses in order. Don't you think that may affect the governance or what the government should do for the people? It may just put things in different places as it is supposed to be in that particular state. What do you think about that?
What's happening in Edo State is rather unfortunate. It's not healthy at all. Two very mature adults, two very well-educated Nigerian citizens, two very experienced administrators having to fight dirty, because that's the way I see it. Getting to a point where the deputy governor is locked out of where he should be, and a whole lot that has happened in the last few months in Edo State. Seated here as a Nigerian citizen, I feel that the situation is quite unfortunate. I would have expected that at their level of exposure, at their level of experience, that they would have worked together harmoniously in the best interest of the state. But it appears clearly that the relationship has gone so bad. And I don't know how they're going to mend their fences, mend their differences before the election that is very close and just by the corner.
Okay.
And I think it's not good. So much energy is spent for what has no relationship whatsoever to governance.
Okay.
And I think it's quite unfortunate. I hope that in the coming days that they can sort their differences. I don't know how the apology by the deputy governor is going to assist in the situation. But like I said, it's quite unfortunate, and I think it's something that could have been avoided.
Now, it looks like, I think this is the second time the deputy governor is having to apologize to the governor of Edo State. I remember some time ago when he was barred from entering the state anniversary event, and of course there was some issues, and then the deputy governor the next day had actually come out to say he still pays loyalty to his principal, and that was a form of apology, and we're seeing him do it again. Now, don't you think that this has something to do with, when we talk about cutting costs of governance, juicy, take away or take home, allowances or, wages that is associated with that particular position? That is what is making it, I want to be there. I have to be there. I mean, local, I remember when Obaseki had come out to say, this is not, listen, Deputy Shuaibu, this is not what you play out there in APC. We can't find that Emilokan slogan. Is not going to happen here in Edo State. When you say it's my turn, I'm not going to allow that come to play. But don't you think that's because of the juicy take-home wages and allowances that is being associated to that seat? I mean, take for example, it was actually a seat where you sit to serve the public. I mean, you just earn your salary and it's your salary. There are no other attractions, side attractions, side, pickups surrounded or associated with that. Do you think it would be something that so many people would want to make it a do or die affair. If I don't sit there, nobody sits.
Well, it is possible that the perquisites of the office of governor is one of the reasons that will make politics in Nigeria to be almost a do or die affair kind of situation, quite unfortunately. Governors in Nigeria are very powerful. They wield a lot of power. They pull the shots in the
Okay,
and they have a lot of influence and lot of connection. And it is possible that Schwaibu would also want to be the governor and also wield the same kind of influence that his boss is wielding. But beyond that, Schwaibu has a right as a citizen of the country.
Okay, we're having some disconnection issues, and I hope
To aspire for.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, he has beyond all the perquisites of the office, he has the right as a citizen of the country to aspire
To vote
to
and be
occupy
voted
any
for.
political office where he doesn't have a constitutional immunity, disability. In this case, he doesn't have a constitutional disability as to age and qualification, and therefore he can aspire. I think that Shuaibu and the governor of Edo State can still sit together. The governor should understand that this person has a right to aspire to become a governor, not the governor of Obaseki, but the governor of the state, Edo State. And Shuaibu also has to understand the way, the way of politics and know how to lobby his master to also lend them support. He doesn't need that support. It is not as if he cannot still win without the support of his master. But if you have the support of your master in whatever you do, you have his blessing, it also makes the road easier.
The power of
But
incumbency.
Shuaibu has a right. If he wants to be governor of Edo State, then there shouldn't be any impediment against him.
Okay, hello. Can you still hear us?
I'm with you.
Okay, so I'd like to ask something else. Away from that, let's just move away from the federal government and, of course, the NLC and the TUC as well. Today marks the 21-day ultimatum start from September 1st, when the NLC had issued a 21-day ultimatum for the federal government to meet their demands. And the federal government is here saying they're not scared of it. So shutdown of the economy, because it sounds like they have a plan B, or they are definitely going to meet the demands of the labor. But what do you see concerning the strike? It's not the first time. I mean, since President Tinubu assumed office, we've been having, you know, the labor threatened strikes almost every month.
Well, I don't know to what extent the threats by the NLC will address the Nigerian people's problem right now. NLC has been on this ever since the subsidy removal was announced, and we're still here. This is 4 months since NLC started engaging with the federal government. I do not know whether.
Okay, we're still having some disconnection issues, but we'll be able to connect back to Barrister Akim Nudem in the course of time. Well, what he was trying to talk about is what Nigeria stands to gain between the federal government and the NLC, of course, the strike threats. We understand that the NLC has put some demands on the table of the federal government. That includes, making sure that the refineries in Nigeria start to work, which is a very important, I would say, key issue. Also reviewing, taking a look at an increasing minimum wage. And of course, aside from that, talking about the CNG vehicles that was talked about by the federal government and other issues as well. Now, one of the key issues which, if solved, would actually makes sense, a whole lot of sense to Nigerians, is if the federal government can actually make the refineries in here in Nigeria, even if it's one or two to start working. I mean, it would actually be a good one, and of course an additional progress for Nigerians. Don't forget that we were given assurances that by December the refinery should start working, the one in Port Harcourt, but we are hopeful to hold the federal government by their word. So they still have about 3 months. So let's give them that 3 months. Let's see if we can connect back to our guests so we can talk properly on these issues. Hello, good evening. All right, so we are still unable to connect to our guests. Meanwhile, another issue we'll be looking at is the UN's address of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He had talked about exploitation from abroad. He had talked about different things. He had talked about broken promises, promises not kept. He talked about insecurity. He had talked about the coups in West Africa, African countries, and how to stop that. He had also talked about Nigeria being ready to partner with foreign investors, and of course let's have a fertile ground where investors can actually come in and invest here in Nigeria. Of course, if that happens, it will be a good one. And so many people had already given kudos to the president for making such a wonderful speech, and of course for putting Nigeria in front at the UN's General Assembly. And they also talked about the issue of climate change as well. Well, let's see if we can connect back to our guest. But before then, we'll go on a short break. When we come right back, we'll talk better. Just stay tuned. All right, welcome back. Just a very short break. As promised, we're right back talking about some issues concerning Nigeria. And of course, we have been talking about the strike issue. Today makes it 21 days as given by the NLC before they proceed on a total shutdown of the nation's economy. So how is this going to play out? Will the federal government be able to clear the demands on their table? Of course, payment of arrears of lecturers are also part of this demand made by the NLC. And of course, the TUC as well has also dropped their demands, the Trade Union Congress, on the table of the federal government. And they had already given an extra week to make it 2 weeks for the government to be able to meet their demands. And they had also come out to say that they haven't backed out or divided themselves or backed out from the strike. They are so much one, of course, in unity with the NLC. Let's try to connect back to our guest right now. Hello, good evening, Barrister. Hello, Barrister Kamini. I think we just lost him again, but I will be able to connect to him in due time. Apologies for having some network issues. And before we headed to the strike issue, we had talked about the embattlement, of course, going on between the governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki, and his deputy, Philip Schreiber. And today, in a meeting that should have been concluded by now, in Benin City, the people had reported that while speaking to journalists in Benin City, the deputy governor, rather, Philip Schreiber, had apologized to his principal, Godwin Obaseki. And of course, it says the embattled deputy governor of Edo State, Philip Schreiber, has begged his principal, Governor Godwin Obaseki, for forgiveness over their political differences. Schreiber, who disclosed this in an interview with journalists currently going in this Benin City residence, today asked Governor Obaseki for forgiveness. So we'll give you, he also said the governor should forget as well. Well, it's easy to forgive and it's not that easy to forget. Don't forget that there has been some issues going on between the governor and his deputy, an issue that even saw the governor relocate the office of the deputy to another location entirely, which the deputy governor had come out to say that he wasn't informed about the relocation. And of course, it later had surfaced on the media space that he was informed on that same day that his office has been relocated. He should resume there rather. Well, seeing all these issues happen when the elections, the governorship election in Edo State is just around the corner. Well, what do you think about this? And also the president's speech at the UN. What do you think about this too? We'll go on a short break. We'll come right back. Of course, the phone lines will be open so we can also take your own views. Do stay tuned. We'll be right back.